that's okay.
Thank you very much. So I would like to, perhaps boldly, just take 3 points from Pete's talk before we have some questions. So I think what you were talking about was how does place, scale and class matter to our discussions of everyday transitions? Does it matter if it's corporate-led or individual-led? Does it matter if it's middle-class-led or indigenous, more grassroots? Should we start in the easy places or should we start in the harder places? And I myself have just started working on a county-based transitions with Rutland, but that's very, very well off. So it's county.
And it's only 2 square miles.
It's still quite small. And then finally, the importance of power. How do we challenge power, but also how much effort do we put into making our own power? And that power, of course, is intrinsically linked to place and scale. So it's a real geographical question that I think Peter was raising here. So we've got time for some questions. If people
Discussion, really. Yeah.
Exactly, discussion.
I'm throwing ideas
Kelvin,
out.
let's start off with
the usual very direct, amorphous and unanswerable question. But you did open all the doors and mind exploding with that. But I'm still perplexed by this question of transition to what? And your talk seems to be, I hear that it's driven by a sort of green environmental sustainability agenda and low carbon metrics, and not the social justice agenda so much. So I'm not sure we're all agreed on, I'm sure we're all disagreed on what the transition is to, and how we're going to accommodate consensus and difference and all those sort of things in that debate, in the transition itself, let alone in the final solution. Okay. So it's transition to what is the ridiculous question I'm asking.
I can give my view. I think capitalism is incredibly capable of solving our problems and incredibly capable of blowing us all up. And I can envision a incredibly socially unjust, low-carbon economy which is decarbonised and high technology, which is what I think is going to happen, to be honest. I think that we're not going to be disappearing as a species in the next 100 years. I think we're incredibly creative. I think we'll solve some of those problems, but that might not be the sort of society we want to live in. So I think they're different issues. Social justice is, I don't particularly want to see a socially just society that has 7 degrees heating, because it doesn't even last very long.
any direct responses to that?
I suppose if you look at other trends, though, I mean, the most sort of powerful trend that's emerged in the last sort of few years is one that's quite consistent is the desire for democracy, the desire for a degree of equality. That's something that is fairly strong and fairly consistent throughout modern societies, and the idea that you could have that an incredibly unjust or unsocially just zero carbon society is, to me, it seems almost untenable that you could actually achieve that if it was at the expense of social justice, because that's such a powerful thing and that's such a powerful need that people have. How are you going to override that?
I'm afraid I just don't agree. I think in any battle between social justice and sustainability, economic competitiveness and growth gets to win in a capitalist society, and that's why I want to see the transition to a green socialist society. I just don't see that drive. You know, I'd like to be with you, and my heart's with you, but my head is capitalism as incredibly productive and capitalism as incredibly unpleasant. And I think you can be productive and unpleasant at the same time, and you can be nice and ineffectual as well.
There are some more questions on the back table. Yes.
I had a connected question on social justice. You had posed a question in your talk that can you do more in a city where people have similar ideas and similar thoughts? But what about cities like Bombay or Rio, where there are a lot of slum dwellers and informal citizens? There are different ideas of sustainability, there are different ideas about life, there are different priorities. are we just not accounting them because they're informal citizens, they're not supposed to be there, and we think they're disruptive? Because if we are going on a sustainability transition path, they can be disruptive in that path as well. So I would assume that it's better to include them rather than exclude them in the whole idea of the plan.
I absolutely agree, and I don't see slums, I see informal settlements. And I think ideas of people like Hernando de Soto are incredibly powerful for looking at ways of building all sorts of alternative economic ways of making a living in informal settlements, and giving people property rights and giving people the ability to set up cooperatives and all sorts of trading things that will sort out their problems. I'm not pointing a finger at people in informal settlements in Mumbai as being part of the problem, because I don't think they are part of the problem. I think we're the problem. And I think we need a politics of people's right to develop in a climate-constrained and resource-constrained world. If I was in Mumbai, and I'm not, I would say I don't believe that everybody on the planet can have a high consumption lifestyle. And if you're looking at those skyscrapers and that's where you want to be, I think you might want to think again. But that's for them. And there's plenty of people, in India and in Latin America that are saying that, and I'm on their side. But that's not for me to say. I'll sort out Liverpool.
Okay, I think we'll move on to the next speaker, and we'll probably revisit some of these things at the end. So